Okay.
Oh, cool. I meant to wear my. I'll wear it next week. My Bleacher Blums green shirt. I still have.
Yeah, I think
the
one
old
of
logo.
my daughters stole mine.
Oh, I wore
Some
mine in
stuff
Vegas
works, man.
when we went. It was cool. I like that shirt.
It's pretty legit.
Yeah, no March Madness this year. I'm not going. My wife's going out of town next weekend. I'm like, you picked all weekends to go out of town. I know.
You've
I
been
can go
doing
the
this for
second
years,
week.
didn't she know?
I know. Well,
Get out of
it's
on
been
here.
it's been
We need to have a
trickling off. It's been trickling. Like a lot of times we go the second week actually, which is kind of fun too. It's a little less dizzying.
Well, you could like rebet, after
Yeah.
the first round kind of filters through.
Yeah, no, it's not.
That's how
bad.
my
We've
mind
gone-
works.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. No, we go first or second week. There's a bunch of guys that go the second week. I mean, there's half as many games, but it's not like instead of overlap, you get game after game after game. You know what I mean? So you actually watch the games. So second week is not horrible. So anyway. Coolio. All right.
Yeah, we need to get the bugs out of our faces, man. Like, I just feel like I'm in this like haze right now, just kind of like floating.
Yeah. I'm in a haze.
Because
Let's have a
of
hazy
stupid-
conversation, my friend.
I'd rather have a hazy IPA. Yeah. Hey, Tuttle, how's it going, man? Because the bleachers are open. We are adjusting to this time change as we get back on the Bleacher Blums podcast. I am Geoff Bloom, if you want to call me that. 14-year Major League veteran. I've got my great friend David Tootle across the way, if you want to call him that. All-around great dude, hard worker, Team USA. Kind of fitting. We'll talk a little bit about the WBC a little bit later in the podcast, but just to go a little bit behind the scenes, and I'm going to spring this on Tuttle because Tuttle and I have a lot of similarities in our lifestyle, in our approach to fashion, in our approach to trying to hold on to some attractiveness to our family and wives throughout the course of our lives. And we have similar haircuts, kind of short, kind of spiky, Tuttle's got a little more motion. Mine's straight as a string. And we had a conversation. I don't know if you remember this. It might have been about 3 or 4 months ago. And it was via text. It wasn't on here. And you texted me, you're like, hey, what hair product do you use? And I said, I use the Kiehl's texturizing clay. Mm. And you were like, dude, I can't find it anywhere. So I went out on a mission and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I wanted to let you know that it's back. If you go to Kiehl's.com, you can find it. Did you find it yet?
I got it a month ago, but I should have told you.
How come you didn't give me the heads up?
I know. I'm a loser. So it was COVID related. Somebody told me it was an ingredient thing. And I told you, I was like at Nordstrom and I was like at Kiehl's. And anyway, this is cool. I feel bad that I didn't tell you now because I was like, I know Blum uses that stuff. I can't find it. And maybe he has like you always have the secret in the big league back door. Like, oh yeah.
I know.
The regular public can't get it, but Kiehl's gave Jeff Blum a 40% discount, and he had an extra crate delivered to his house. So that's the selfish text.
Yeah. So yeah, you were hoarding it all as you accumulated more. So I had this knee-jerk reaction when I got the email saying, "Hey, the Kiehl's texturizing clay's back." I now have 5 on the way. They're being shipped in. So
there you go.
I've loaded up. But that's just some behind the scenes of what Tuttle and Blum like as far as hair product is concerned. So I'm stoked to get my loaf back because I need a haircut. If you're watching any of this on YouTube, it's out of control, man.
Yeah. Well, you got
loaf.
Yeah, Cecilia takes care of you, I believe, and you have you get the spiky hair, and and now the Houstonian baseball fans can see you on TV, and they're gonna raid the Kohl's website. I want to look like Blum.
Well, how about the timing of this whole thing? So they get the product back, and I'm going to be on TV every day starting March 31st. We're not going to be on there for opening day, but we're going to be on there the second day of the season for the rest of the year. So
nice.
Yay.
Dude, Kiehl's knew it was up, man. They knew Blum needed the hair product, and maybe me less so, but I definitely like the product. I think you introduced me to it. Well, I've had it. I kind of mix and match. I've had it. I don't have to be on TV, so I play with different products. But that one's been a mainstay. So I always have like 2 or 3 kind of waxy somethings in there. And I really like the Kiehl's one is a kind of more of a firm hold. So I'm sure the lady listeners love this fashion talk from the Bleacher Blums. Hey,
I just thought that was big news.
No, that is big news. Now, you just said something that triggered me. What about opening day? Are you guys, is that an ESPN game or a national game, and they don't allow you and TK and Julia to do that game? Or what are we doing, Blum? Why can't you guys get opening day?
It sucks because ESPN jumps on the bandwagon of the Houston Astros and says, "Oh, we're going to broadcast the reigning world champions opening day." And I think that what's great though is that the Astros organization recognizes that ESPN poached that opening day game from us. So what they've done is, I think that I'm not sure, but I think they're going to drop the banner on opening day, because that's really good to let the rest of the planet know that they've won another World Series championship. But the beauty of what the Astros are doing is, on March 31st, our first broadcast, our opening day, they're actually doing the ring ceremony. So that will be our little kind of like, nice thumb in the eye of ESPN going, you wanted to show up and get all the fanfare, but we're going to save it for good old AT&T Sportsnet, as long as we're called that for the time being. And we're going to give them the ring ceremony. So nice. There will be plenty going on that first week. But yeah, our season won't start until March 31st. Yeah, I created a lot of confusion on Instagram when I said my opening day was March 31st.
Oh, yeah, you got a lot of responses saying, what do you mean opening day is not my thing?
This guy's an idiot, man.
Yeah. Well, it's not selfish, but when you're tweeting from a work capacity, you're just talking about your schedule, and people want to know when you and TK. I mean, we've had this conversation for years. You guys know what's going on with the Astros. The home broadcast gets phased out in the playoffs, and very often, like you said, at the beginning of the season, especially as reigning world champions. And I do think what's interesting there is that whether AT&T Sportsnet or the Houston Astros recognize it with the ring ceremony, the nice thing is you guys don't get a lot of national recognition and national publicity. We're still coastal biased organization, right? Or country. So it's, Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, I guess when the Giants make it in, but football and baseball are both kind of coastal biased. So when it's the St. Louis Cardinals and the Houston Astros, you guys got to take all the fanfare you can get.
Absolutely. And speaking of fanfare, I don't know how much you've been watching, but this WBC, the World Baseball Classic, has been kind of going bonkers a little bit. And I've taken a couple of notes, and the reason I'm kind of fascinated by this whole situation, and I'm kind of curious to get your take on it, is, Omar Lopez, our first base coach for the Astros, is managing Team Venezuela. And there was a lot of talk about the pool that he was in, Pool D down in Miami, where 3 of the top 5 teams, as far as rankings are concerned, in the WBC were, Dominican Republic, number 1, Puerto Rico, 3 or 4, and then you had Venezuela, 4 or 5, depending on where you looked. And right now, Venezuela has beaten both Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic to take the lead in that pool, and looks like they're going to be advancing. So it's a lot of fun to see that. Jose Altuve, Miguel Cabrera, Ronald Acuna Jr. I mean, Venezuela's stacked as far as offense is concerned. So it's been kind of fun to watch them kind of upset the better, more anticipated teams in the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. But the thing that I wanted to ask you real quick was, are you intrigued at all by this World Baseball Classic? Because I feel like it for whatever reason this season, it's kind of spread a little bit. And I use my kids as a gauge. Audrey, one of my daughters, loves the game of baseball. She's been watching a lot of it. She follows Kyle Tucker on Team USA. She loves it. But we were watching the Mexico-USA game yesterday, and they had a couple of friends over there. We were all sitting there watching the game. And do you feel that way? Is it that big out there on the West Coast?
I think it just depends on the baseball fan. We're looking for real baseball, and I think it's more, we talked about this earlier, it's more real baseball than spring training. I was getting lunch with my daughter this weekend, and the Angels-Dodgers game was on, and it was, it was Tuttle versus, whoever else. It was number 97 pitching against number 68, and, you're trying to look who this guy is, and he's an up-and-comer, and it's fine. No. I'm just saying, but it's like, if you're intrigued and that's your kid or that's you and your friends, like, yeah, it's interesting baseball, but it's kind of like, how do we get through the 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th innings to get these guys a little experience, exposure, and see how they handle themselves? The fans aren't interested in that. unless they're down in spring training. And, there's plenty of diehard fans that want to see who's the AA star, the AAA star that's going to be breaking into the big leagues. But as a fan watching TV, we want real football. We want real baseball as quickly as we can get it. And I just think this is real baseball. Now, me having played in Puerto Rico and knowing some of the, guys down there and some of the,
this is where I'm going.
It's not just affinity. It's the passion that they have for it. It's really good baseball. And I think we forget, we're like watching these teams like Miguel Cabrera and, Jose Altuve. You already mentioned Acuna Jr. Venezuela's stacked. Those are three superstar type players. I know obviously Miguel's on his way out, but I mean, in a classic like this, he can still hold his own in winter ball because you got some up and comers. But like you said, the flag that they are waving, the pride that they have wearing their country's name on their shirt. And as you said, if the Dominican is really stacked, beating the Dominican Republic is a huge kind of accomplishment for Venezuela. And I think now that I've been watching a lot more soccer, they have the pool of death every year. It's like, are they going to make it out of the pool of death? Well, it looks like Venezuela is going to make it out of the pool of death, right? They beat Brazil and Germany from a soccer perspective, exactly, and now they're rolling along. So, I think I think the reason, again, we can go back to pitching and defense. The Dominican, superstars are all over the field, pitching and position players, whereas the Venezuela probably didn't think that they had the pitching depth. And the fact that they've escaped with a couple W's makes it exciting. And like I said, I actually think this. Here's the take, Blum, and then I'll throw it back to you. Is Team USA probably has less connection and less passion than some of the other countries. It's kind of like making an all-star team here, but it's not. I don't know. When I played Team USA, it was college guys, and we got to go to Cuba or wherever, and we got to represent our country, which was fantastic. But it wasn't. For us, it was representing your country. Here, it's kind of like, we see these guys all the time. Just much more of an all-star type feel to it. I think when you grow up in Venezuela, when you grow up in Puerto Rico, I know for a fact the passion that you carry and when you wear that flag on your chest is much deeper. So I don't know if it's the left coast, third coast, the USA is into it as much, but every night Shohei Ohtani hits a home run on ESPN and you're like, man, this guy's pretty good.
Yeah, Shohei's putting on another show. He's on another level, but I love the fact that you have the experience down there in the Caribbean playing in some of those environments because I think there's a couple of good points. There's a reason the passion is there for those teams because here in America, there's the expectation that when our kids are born and they're good athletes, they're going to play in the major leagues. They're going to play in the NFL. They're going to play at this high level, and the expectations there. We see it every single day as a kid growing up. So it becomes a little more business-like where you're trying to work to attain that stature or that level of play. And I don't know if it's the expectation or the business-like mentality, but that's where the passion kind of gets sucked out of it. Now, you go to these other countries like Venezuela, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and even Japan and some of these places. What's the goal? To play baseball in America. So it's almost, we're on our soil, we're supposed to be here, we're badasses, and these other countries don't have that expectation. It's a blessing. It's something you've strived for. It's something that will protect your family for years to come when you start to earn that money. So there is a little more investment, a little more passion, and that's why you start to see that. And the thing that cracks me up, and this is where you could probably speak to it a little bit because you've actually been down in those countries and played in that environment, is when that passion shows up in the stands and we start to see it and hear it through the speakers of our TV, or we actually go to a game and see that, that fervent fever of baseball and desire to win, it kind of shocks us a little bit. Because here in the States, it's golf claps, it's cheering, it's no bat flips, it's I was supposed to do that, I do this every day kind of mentality, as opposed to, dude, bat flipping, cheering, vuvuzela horns, cowbells, chants. The energy that I'm seeing at these games, I'm going, why can't we replicate that here? Now, I know it's a 162-game season, and it's hard to do that, but this infusion of energy and enjoyment around the game has really kind of turned me on and given me just a little bit more energy in saying this sport is still thriving across the world, man.
It's funny because we're kind of dancing around the same subject. I mean, the passion that people have is different than it is here. And I think I've said this story before, but the first time I took the mound in Cuba, it was about 60,000 people. And when you stand on the mound, it's quiet. I mean, they're going nuts. But, just like, here's the analogy. It's just like the Waste Management Open versus regular golf. You get out there and you've been playing baseball your whole life and you're waiting for it to get quiet and kind of everybody to pay attention. And it gets louder and louder and louder, and the drums get louder and the fans get louder. And you're like, oh, I guess this is the environment we're playing in. It's pretty nuts and pretty unique. I mean, there's nothing like it on the planet. And I think that maybe that's hard to recognize through the television, but it's certainly there. And I think that, the USA could certainly learn something from the World Baseball Classic in terms of passion and interest. But I think we'll find out when the USA either doesn't move on, or we move on and get smoked by the Dominican or Puerto Rico or Venezuela or Japan. And we realize, oh yeah, these countries have a lot more passion and a lot more desire to win this World Baseball Classic than we do.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. What's crazy to me is that there's four pools, 5 pools, AB. So there's 4 pools, 5 teams apiece. So you've got 20 teams out there. But I had no idea that Great Britain could even field a team, or I knew that Nicaragua, that like their national game is baseball, and maybe don't have the notoriety on the big stage in Major League Baseball as far as having a lot of Nicaraguans playing. We knew about the Caribbean teams that are out there. They're stacked. But like Team Israel, are you surprised? I mean, I feel like the rules are a little bit looser than the Olympics, where you just got to have somebody that kind of had a toe in the country for maybe more than a month, and you can go play for that team. But I love the fact that these guys are getting opportunities. The Czech Republic? Are you kidding me? Well, I mean, that dude, the electrician that went out there and struck out Shohei Ohtani, I mean, those are kind of fun stories and opportunities that they're getting.
It's funny you said that because, now being over 50, I told my wife. So my wife is from the Czech Republic, born there. She moved here when she was 9. So she has dual citizenship. She just got it. Married to her, I can get dual citizenship. Don't think
I didn't making a comeback.
No. Right here, you heard on the. But don't think I didn't think about like, hey, wouldn't that be hilarious to be like, here he is, 52 years old. He's going to take the mound again. I would be so nervous about getting smashed on the shin, though. I mean, you don't want to be messing around, like you said.
The pain.
The electrician that struck out Shohei Ohtani at least has been playing baseball in the last 5 years. I have not been playing baseball in the past 5 years. But I mean, it does cross your mind. And I always think, I think the first year when the World Baseball Classic came out, they had Team Israel was great. You just had like somebody that had a Jewish descent or married into the Jew. I mean, there's so many funny storylines. And like you said, I had that when I played against Michael Jordan, thinking that it's a great accomplishment to strike out Michael Jordan and then realize he's a basketball player, not a baseball player. And you're like, oh, well, I guess I probably should have struck out. But, you get these little
MVP
stories.
Looks silly, man.
Yeah, the electrician's going to go back to rewiring, businesses and houses, but he's got, and like you said, the feather in his cap. He struck out Shohei Ohtani, and I do think the storylines are fantastic, and I think this kind of brings it full circle. You already said it. I mean, it's real baseball. We're watching real baseball with people that have a passion for it, whether they, circumvented the rules or dipped their toe in the water so they could get, recognition to make it on the Czech Republic or the Team Israel. I just think it's a cool thing, and it kind of makes spring training go a lot faster, and we'll get to spring training, soon. We'll get through spring training much quicker because we have real baseball, and then the season will start, as you mentioned, March 30th, not March 31st, even though you start March 31st.
Yeah, my brain is working a little bit sideways, getting ready for the season. What do you got?
Well, no, I'm just that's a good transition. So we go from, the World Baseball Classic, and we have baseball to, we're talking about experience and passion. And I think March Madness, obviously the brackets got released yesterday. When fans hear this, will understand. Obviously they're ready to roll for this, but I do think the conversation could be very similar in that we have these experienced teams, 5th-year seniors, they're coming back again for, kind of the last, and they have a passion for their school, whether it be like a Wofford or you know, I don't know, Gonzaga hasn't won one yet, but they're still, you know, they're not they're not in the forefront this year as they have been in the past when they got smoked by Baylor a couple of years ago. But I do think the fifth-year seniors, those, you know, the glue teams, I know Jay Billis had like UConn and Duke. Duke has won like 9 in a row, and they're playing really well. But when we have the one and done, I kind of feel like Team USA is like the one and done teams, like Kentucky's of the world. And, you know, some of the other teams are like the Team Venezuela or Team Puerto Rico. You know, they're going to give you some passion, they're going to give you some heart, and they're going to stick around a little bit longer than we expect. So what did you see when the brackets were released yesterday? I know you looked at it. I mean, I usually go pretty chalk heavy, but what were your first thoughts on the release of the brackets?
They were good. I think they got all the number one seeds right. And I agree with you. Everybody's I think you're kind of mentioning that Cinderella story. Who's going to be that team that just gels at the right time and gets a little more passionate, or found that one transfer that came in and just kind of gave them an extra boost? I don't know who that team's going to be, but looking at it early on, I watched a game earlier this year with Purdue. And Purdue wasn't ranked, I don't think, and they were just kind of like, what's this team going to be like? And then all of a sudden, that 7'4" Zach Eddie or whatever his name is, all of a sudden grabbed a basketball and did the skyhook thing. I was like, dude, nobody's going to defend that in this league. There are no more big men in the world right now, and he's like the biggest dude out there. I mean, there's a couple out there that are 6'10", you know, kind of beefy and can move around and push guys around, but this dude is gigantic. And it feels like his wingspan is the width of the key. And he comes down there, just sits under the basket and just kind of, you know, does like this Godzilla move where he's like, dare you to come into the key. And he's like swinging his arms around and everybody's like, oh, God. And they start running. So I'm kind of fascinated by that. And I also like the bracket they're in. That bracket that they're in, what are they in? Down in the lower east or whatever it is? Yeah, they're in the east. And the number 2 seed out there is Marquette, I believe. So I think Purdue's got a great chance. And I don't know if you watched him, but I'm just fascinated because there's a couple of guards that are really good athletes around him. And when they double team, they just have to drain those threes because they're all going to suck down into the key and light him up and then dish the ball out and maybe make some threes and get past him. But the athleticism is great around the league. I absolutely love March Madness, and I can't wait to see what's going on. But that's the one thing that kind of stuck out to me. And I think University of Houston's in a great bracket, and there's just that local fever that I want them to make it just because the Final Four is going to be down here in Houston. But is there anything that jumped out to you, or do you have that Cinderella team that you're kind of looking at?
I don't have a Cinderella team. You know, every year San Diego State kind of ekes in, and they look, you know, they're 27-6, but they don't play in that strong of a conference. But they're pretty good this year. You know, they don't have a Kawhi Leonard, but they're pretty strong. But what jumps out at me, and this is funny, we always look at the tournament, as we should, I guess, in totality. But everybody's worried about, oh, they're in this bracket, or they're there, or they're there. What happens is you really only have to win your little, you know, it's kind of 3 2-game tournaments, right? You got to win your first 2, and, you know, and you can only play who's in front of you. So you don't really have to worry about, I think if you can simplify it and just worry about it, I know, sound like an old salty baseball player, like one game at a time, but you really have to just win your 2-game tournaments. So who are we playing in our first 2 games? We're going to play this team and this team. UCLA's been playing fantastic, but similar to Houston, they both lost kind of a key guy before the championship of the tournament. Houston lost yesterday to Memphis, but they had lost Sasser the day before. But I think he'll be back for the you know, March Madness stuff. UCLA had a couple guys sit out, and they lost to Arizona. They had an open look to you know, win the game for the tournament. And Arizona won. So, but you know, here's the thing: Arizona got a 2 seed, and UCLA got a 2 seed. I mean, they're both really strong teams. So there's a coin flip there from a West Coast perspective. I always like the Houstons and the Baylors. I think I said this before. They look like grown men out there. They look like the old UNLV teams. But in terms of the kind of the Cinderella-ish teams, I think Marquette is an interesting one. You already brought that up. Like, you know, maybe Purdue could get by him, but Marquette has been playing really good basketball. I mean, they've been ranked in the top 10 most of the year. You know, Dwayne Wade,
their coach has coached a bunch of Cinderella-type teams, so he almost has that mentality and ability to kind of will his team to play better in the tournament for some reason.
Shaka Smart there? Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. I think that they're a team to watch out for. Now, I think I heard this, there's actually a guy at my gym who went to Marquette, and he's like, they just play to their opponent. And we hear that a lot, right? They just play down to their opponent. They don't ever win by 10 or 20. They win by 2, 3, or 4 points, but they win all their games by 2, 3, or 4 points. So again, are they battle tested, or are they just playing down to their opponents? So, Marquette, Purdue, we hit that. I think you always have to watch out for Kansas. Duke has won 9 or 10 in a row, and I don't know, maybe they figured out what their identity is. So it's, it's kind of the usual suspects in the tournament. And my point is the same as yours, which is it's just fun to watch, and it's a great time of year.
Yeah, and just another note on you mentioning Kansas is that will be the second game for the Arkansas Razorbacks in their bracket. So their 2-game tournament is going to be against Illinois, and then they would have to face Kansas if Kansas is able to get past Howard University. But it's fascinating times. I think it's great, and I love the camaraderie of it because brackets are everywhere. Everybody's filling it out, and you get to talk a little bit trash. Did Santa Clara sneak in? I know we talked about it last podcast. I didn't see the whole bracket.
No, they didn't sneak in, and I think it's actually fair. Probably they didn't. I mean, I was just biased. I think they were like 22-11. They had beat USF twice this year. They were in, they're obviously in the West Coast Conference, so they have Gonzaga and St. Mary's, who are both ranked, and they're both really good teams. But I think already getting 2 teams out of the WCC, you would have to go win the tournament to take a third WCC team regardless. And USF had beat Santa Clara in double overtime in the semifinals, I think, of the WCC tournament. I think if they had won one more game, or if they'd give St. Mary's or Gonzaga a run, I don't get into the sabermetrics of it. But to your point, I think I was hoping based on record they could get in, but they probably just weren't a quality team this year. And I saw like Oklahoma State got knocked out, and this is stuff I just read this, so please don't quote me. But basically they look at the quad 1 matchups that these teams have. And so Oklahoma State's on the bubble. Their record wasn't good, and they were kind of 8-12 in the Big 12 conference, even though it's a strong conference. And they said they had 18 quad 1 matchups this year, and they won like 5 or 6 of them. And it's just not just not good enough. They're going to get in the tournament, but it's not going to be good enough for them. So again, that's the first analytics you'll ever hear from me based on the
love it,
the bracket. But you know what I mean? Like, so it's not for us to say who gets in or out, but I think Santa Clara had a good record this year, and they have Herb Sendek as their coach, who has taken a few teams to the tournament. And, Santa Clara is on the upswing, but this is not their year to be in it. And, that's fine with me.
Yeah, and you know what? We're at that time of the spring training where the WBC is going. That gives us a little bit of a distraction. You got March Madness starting up, so that's a bit of a distraction because this is really that lull in spring training where you've established yourself, you got your legs under you, you're starting to feel better. Now you're kind of looking towards the end of spring training and really finishing healthy to get into the opening day roster and move on. So thank goodness for the WBC. Thank goodness for March Madness right now because it's a pretty healthy distraction, especially here in the bleachers, for us to give us something to expand on a little bit. And again, this is a baseball podcast for the sports fan because Tuttle and I are sports fans. Tuttle, have you got anything that has kind of perked your interest or come to the front of your mind that you want to talk about a little bit?
I don't know if we have to bring back the Waddle Tuttle Stay segment anymore, but here's the thing. I was scrolling through ESPN as we just talked about the brackets, and this is, again, we've talked about it before, and it's not like stuck in my craw, but it's kind of an interesting thing is I get on ESPN.com or I get on The Athletic, and you're looking at the brackets, and right next to it, they put the women's brackets. I guess the women's selection show is right after the men's selection show. And it's not that they shouldn't get equal footing. And it's not that, hey, when our daughters go to college and, play sports, you want to see the brackets, but I don't know how many women get on ESPN.com and look at it. Did your wife or your daughters run on there and try and get the bracket set up? And so I think there's like a misconception about what equality is. Like, why does ESPN feel the need to put the men's brackets and the women's brackets right next to each other when nobody's looking at the women's brackets? Like, again, we've overcorrected. I'm going to get myself in hot water by saying that, but it just seems ridiculous because it's just in the way. I'm like scooching the stuff out of the way. Like, oh, that's South Carolina and Stanford and UConn and, Gino Auriemma. That's great. It's fantastic basketball. I know a lot about it. I don't need to see that bracket right next to the bracket that we're all watching and betting on and caring about. I don't understand. So if you had your own website or something, right? Like your daughters do not get on ESPN.com and look at the women's bracket. So why do they have it on the first page? It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just kind of interesting. I mean, they know more about March Madness. Obviously, marketing, commercializing it, and betting on it. It's going to be everywhere for the men, and it's created its own animal. But I really, the first thing I thought about when you said that they're side by side on ESPN, it is so disingenuous. Yeah. It's not giving them any credit. If you really wanted to give them a platform, you don't put them side by side. Because we already know that the men's bracket is out of control. If you took the number of bets on men's brackets compared to women's brackets, it's going to be it's not fair. You're making them feel bad. So why wouldn't you just dedicate an entire page to them and just give them their own page? Why do you have to, like you said, why do you have to put them up against something that is a behemoth? It's the whole David and Goliath thing.
Well,
they've got their spot. Go ahead.
Sirius XM, you could give them their own channel. It's like there's NBA, there's NBA radio, there's NHL. I don't ever listen to the hockey one. They have all these different spots. They could have NCAA women's tournament channel. Like
you give them the channel or the page, give them the channel, give them the page, and let them run with it. And if they market it and they do well, they're going to make more money and they're going to be happier about it. But sitting there and trying to split the page doesn't make any sense to me because, like you said, everybody's going to click to the men's side because that's what's been marketed the most,
Yeah, and so that's maybe a little I don't know, a little negativity, but it's just frustrating to see that I think to your point, they're going about it the wrong way. That's all I was going to say about that. They're going about it the wrong way.
I think that's what you kind of felt when you said that.
Yeah, it's like they're going about it the wrong ways. Now, give us a quick story about brackets in spring training locker rooms because those are the fun ones, and I think we've told a few before. But I mean, you were talking about it's kind of the lull in spring training, and guys are ready to start the season. Yes, the World Baseball Classic is probably taking a little of the thunder, but how exciting is it when that guy brings in the sheets? We had to copy sheets, right? Like.
Dude, so Woody Williams was the guy in San Diego, but it was funny because I'm going to back away from the mic and probably blow out the mic. So be ready for this, Mark, because he would show up. The selection is on Sunday evening. Everybody gets the brackets on Monday morning, but Woody would show up, 5 a.m., some ungodly hour before the sun's up, and he would go in there and print off, 75, probably double that because guys are buying more than one bracket. But he would come in and he would scream. I'll scoot back. He would come in and he'd go, "Sheets!" And as soon as he screamed "sheets," everybody kind of jumped out of their locker and went running to him. And they're like grabbing him like it was like, the old school, Wall Street floor where there's, flashing tickets and everybody's grabbing them and stuff like this. And then,
so funny.
And every bracket's like $1,000 a piece. And then you'd go in with a couple of buddies and split it up. And fill it out. And then, once you get past the first or second round, and then there would be another round of sheets. When you get to the Elite Eight, another round of sheets. So, I mean, by the end of this thing, you could be about $6,000 or $7,000 into this whole thing, and then you get to the Final Four and then they start selling those teams for $5,000 a piece. And you're like, that's when you start to buddy up and you start to try and, accrue enough money to buy a team. But then you almost have like a bidding war on some of these things to try and get the top seeds and stuff like that. It's out of control. Yeah. So
that meal money didn't make it to the restaurant.
Dude, guys are throwing their envelopes at him. It's unbelievable. And I don't know who's keeping track of all this cash, but that's basically what happens. So it's March Madness. It's all of the horse races and then fantasy football. That's where most of the interaction, I won't say betting, I'll say interaction between teammates is. But yeah, March Madness is one of the great times because this is that time where you've been in big league clubhouses. You'll show up, and I mean, especially when you're on the West Coast, it's almost better because you show up at 9 a.m. and those games on the East Coast they're starting, man. Oh, yeah. You've got directional Eastern, South State going against somebody, and they're playing at like noon, and you're watching games all throughout the course of the day in the first couple of rounds.
Yeah, it certainly adds life to spring training, as you point. We've talked about the dog days of the season. There are dog days of spring training, believe it or not, when you're, Groundhog Day and into the same restaurant in the morning and showing up at the clubhouse the same day, same time. It's like, oh. got to get out of here. And now all of a sudden you got your bracket to worry about. So, yeah. And I love the different personalities. It would be fun to call that out. But you got the guy who's super analytical, like giving you the, well, this team
so
lost
true.
by, they never lose by set. And then someone else is like, well, I like the red uniforms. You know, you cover the whole spectrum or the whole gamut. And, you know, you never know who's going to win, but it's kind of an exciting time. So
yeah, the philosophies are part of the fun. You know, they're like, how the hell did you pick that? And like you said, well, they played good the last third of the season against teams in yellow. You're like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I wish we could have a bet like we did for the Super Bowl, because I don't know if there's an 80 for Brady movie to make you watch, but
man.
maybe we tie up with the Oscars. I never watched the Oscars. You said Top Gun had a good chance to win. It did not win the Oscar last night.
No,
but I got sick and tired of seeing those.
Yeah,
I got sick and tired of seeing those guys. Did you watch any of the Oscars or no?
I did. I did like the red tuxedo though. That was pretty rad.
I don't know. I didn't want to hear Daniel and Daniel talk anymore by the end. So. That's all.
They were up there every 3 seconds, man. They won everything. Was there any other movie? Jeez.
I don't know. Now I got to go watch. And we do have years like that, right? Where one of those movies. There was the year that silent movie one, the black and white one that was silent, and I was like, all right, these movies get. I don't know. They get the critical acclaim, and then they just, like you said, it's a
they
mad
find that
sweep.
niche
And I'm not
just kill it.
Yeah, I don't know. And Brendan Fraser, that was really interesting.
Dude, that one blew me away. I was like, wow. Yeah. I knew he was back in the game, but I didn't realize it was that good.
Yeah, and I also didn't realize he was so, I mean, think about it. He thought he was on top of the world. He was getting all these fantastic roles, and he was a superstar, and then nobody would give him a role. So I think athletes can relate to that. Like, doesn't have the old zip on the fastball anymore, and, you know, you just kind of go away.
Well, how about the Indiana Jones connection? You know, Harrison Ford comes out and gives out the award for Best Picture, and his sidekick in that Indiana Jones movie is now winning Oscars. He got it for Best Supporting Actor. I apologize for not knowing his name off the top of my head. But,
I looked him up last night. I forgot. I saw his name too.
But that was kind of cool. That was a cool moment when he came up and gave him a great big hug at the end of the whole show. So that was kind of cool.
That was kind of cool.
That was about it.
All right, that's our Oscar take. There we go.
And
we
Lady
really
Gaga
watched him.
can sing, man.
She can sing. I like the Lenny Kravitz part too. I forgot about Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah,
he's good. He's good.
Yeah,
man.
and it's amazing how many people have passed away in the last year or so. That was shocking to me every time we see those things.
Yeah, a lot of old people.
Somber note.
No, that was a great Academy Award recap. You better tune into our Bleacher Blums for an Academy Award recap. You know, get on.
We did good.
Yeah, at Plumber27 on Instagram and Twitter. Maybe you'll see what he. We'll come up with that guy's name, the Indiana Jones guy's name. There you go. So
I know.
So
you know, Marco's already got it.
I know. So it's St. Patrick's Day this Friday coming up, and what did Mark say about? See, I'm going to mess up the promo.
Hey,
what did he say?
If you go to Bleacher Blums and you post a picture of you wearing a Bleacher Blums paraphernalia. We will repost it, and we will get you possibly a free green T-shirt to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I think that might be it. Marco, correct me if I'm wrong or overstating the product.
All right. Got it. There you go.
Yeah, be quick, be on it, and be a listener.
Nice. Yeah. Rate, review, subscribe, and post. That's what we always say. There you go. Do what you got to do, and you might end up with a green Bleacher Blums T-shirt, which I should have worn mine today. I still have mine. Blum, you said your daughter might have stolen it, or daughters, plural. I don't know. Somebody has it somewhere.
No, it'll show up every one of these once a month in the morning, and I'm like, oh, there it is. You know, it's like, geez, thanks for that.
There you go.
My hard-earned work got you that shirt, and I don't even get to wear it.
Hard-earned work.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you listening to the Bleacher Blums podcast. Of course, at the end of every podcast, we like to give an enthusiastic, heartfelt thank you to all of the military, both veterans and currently serving. home and abroad, for the protection of our freedoms here on the homeland, that gives us the opportunity to talk about some of our interests and have everybody listening to it. So we appreciate you, all of the first responders who work in the police departments, in the fire departments, in the EMTs that go out there, protect us, rescue us, and keep us going throughout the course of the day. All the doctors out there, the frontline workers, the essential workers, and of course, at this time of the year, the teachers are starting to ramp up a little bit. We've got proms going. We've got finals coming. I've got 3 seniors that are happening. Tuttle's got 1 right now. A lot going on. So we appreciate all of you who listen. We appreciate all of you who work so hard. So thank you so much for everything. And we're going to give it to our closer.
So March is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Don't forget about that. And if you're over the age of 45, don't forget to get screened for colorectal cancer. Always on this podcast, we encourage you, after Blum and I have a jovial time on the microphones, to get after it and believe it.
Believe it!
And post and review and rate to get a free t-shirt. Ke Huy Quan, that's it. Which I would have messed up anyway. I looked him up before. I'd be like, oh, yeah, you know, the guy from Indiana Jones, number 3, Ke Huy Quan. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Goonies, yeah.
I know. Oh, and Goonies. I haven't seen any of the movies except for 80 for I haven't seen any of the movies that were nominated. And now I feel like, all right, I know. Top Gun, you told me to watch. Everybody says it was the greatest movie. So that one was
a good movie.
Yeah, I need to go watch it. But now I want to see everything, everywhere, all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like an